introduce to everyone. My name is Denise. I'm the host for today. And this sharing session, Tauke Talks with Justin, of course, from Miss Ellie. And this session is brought to you by RYSE, or also known as Rapid Youth Success Entrepreneurship. So we are a program that equips young people with entrepreneurial skills and knowledge to start small businesses. And we are gladly supported by Citi Foundation. So in RYSE, we believe that entrepreneurship is not only for like big tech companies, but also the very important small and mighty businesses, just like Miss Ellie Tea House. We also want to showcase stories from small business owners and see how they persevere and keep their dreams going, even during a pandemic like this. So happy to welcome Justin. Hey. Okay, so before we start, I'll just briefly share the agenda of today's session. It will be from 3 to 3:30. We will start a short introduction of what Miss Ellie Tea House is. Then we will go deep into the questions like what are his challenges, what was the story behind it, the cafe, and then the Q&A session where your questions will be answered. And then lastly, we have a little short introduction or a promotion about the next Tauke Talks and also our RYSE online course. So if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat anytime, then I will cover it during the Q&A. Okay, without further ado, Justin, can you tell us more about Miss Ellie, like how do people order food from you, or maybe learn a bit more about the menu you serve or the story behind your cafe?
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Justin from Miss Ellie Tea House, owner and proprietor. I am the chef as well. I run this business with my mom and my wife, so very much a family affair. We are a restaurant in Taman Melawati. We do Western food. As my background is in Western cuisine and patisserie, so we cover things like baking, cakes, desserts, etc. We also serve hot food, and our menu encompasses comfort food. So it's not particularly Italian only or French only or that kind of thing. It's about homely food. So our environment is also set up the same. When you come in, it feels more like a house or an extension of a house rather than a restaurant or a typical cafe. It suits our location because we are a little bit out of the way. We're in Taman Melawati, which is very close to Zoo Negara. So a little bit of a drive out from town, about 20 minutes. But we are in a very nice suburb. We are in the foothills of the Titi range. In fact, we are right at the foot of Bukit Tabor, which is famous for its quartz ridge. So it's a very picturesque area, very nice. I think our business is very well situated here, and customers who come in become friends. So the menu is traditional. You come in and order. You can also call up for takeaway, and we are currently working on our website, so you can do online orders soon.
Wow, amazing news.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Do you do delivery for now?
We do. We started delivery because of the MCO. So when the shutdown happened, we had to adapt because we couldn't open for business, obviously, for about 3 months.
Interesting. Excited to hear more like how the thought process behind setting up a delivery service in a sense. Could you share more like how did you come up with maybe the name Miss Ellie, or why did you decide to do a restaurant? Were you always in food and beverage before?
Well, I've always been in food and beverage. I'm a chef by trade. So I studied in Taylor's here, and I went to Melbourne to specialize in pastry. Then I stayed there and worked for about another 10 years before coming back here. So my background is very much hospitality, hotel, restaurants. I don't really know how to do anything else. Don't really know how to give interviews actually. But yeah, so that's my background. When I came back here, it was actually for family reasons. So the story, in summary, I was working in Australia, and on one of my trips back home, we found out my dad was diagnosed with late-stage liver cancer. So I decided to quit my job in Melbourne, come back here and help care for him. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, and he passed on a few months after. So I stayed back to stay with mom. I wasn't really doing anything at the time. We were wrapping up my dad's business, and I was helping my brother with his tourism business for a short while. And after a while, my mom said, you're not doing anything with your life, do something. Now, my mom and my dad had a retirement plan. My dad was from the army, so we were exposed to Western cuisine and culture at a very young age, because in the army, before Merdeka, it was still under British administration. So my dad was the one who brought all those influences to our family. And his retirement plan with my mom was to have a little cozy English friends over and fellowship. So, of course, he didn't realize that dream, but mom said to me she was not doing anything and I was not doing anything. So we decided to start Miss Ellie Tea House to realize that plan that my parents had. My dad's name, unfortunately, he doesn't have an English name. So we wanted to name the cafe after him. But Wong Tea House would have sounded more like a kopitiam lah. And I don't know how to make wonton mee and nasi lemak. So we scoured around for a name. We also have a very dear pet poodle. Her name was Ellie. She also unfortunately passed on, but we named the cafe after her. So in a way, this place is a tribute to both my dad and Ellie the dog.
Wow. So that means your childhood is very much influenced by Western cuisine. And is that why you decided to fall back to maybe recipes that is similar to what you have eaten when you were younger?
Yes and no. So there are some dishes on the menu that are a shout out to dishes that I grew up with. So like mom's spaghetti bolognese. That's our family's version of the bolognese. And it's something that brings back memories every time I eat it. And of course, as me as a chef, I want to stay creative as well. So there's some dishes on there that I'm very proud and honored to say that I developed over my years. Of course, under the guidance of some very, very good chefs who actually showed me the way throughout my career.
Thanks for sharing. I'm sure it's quite different from comparing to working as a chef in a restaurant and actually owning a cafe of your own. Were there any challenges when you first started? Like, was it difficult to manage the side of it?
Yeah, the challenges come and they don't stop coming. But that's life. I mean, it doesn't matter what road you take. There are going to be challenges. So if you're working for somebody, you're going to have your own set of challenges as well. As far as running your own business goes, for me personally, the challenge was knowing very little about running a business. My training was in cuisine. I know how to run a kitchen. I know how to manage a kitchen. And I know how to write menus. I know how to cook. I know how to develop recipes. But bring in things like marketing, construction, managing administrative tasks like your finance, your accounts, people, hiring, recruitment, all that was new. That was stuff I was not really involved in before. So I had to learn everything on the go. One good thing was I knew a little bit about what not to do because I had failed business in Melbourne while I was there. So I was still working for other people, but on the side, some friends and I decided to start a Malaysian Singaporean board games cafe. That was an expensive learning curve, but a good one. And I think it's important to fail as well because by failing, you learn a lot about what not to do in certain situations, and you learn a lot about yourself and what your limits are, and you draw strength from the fact that if you've been through failures, you know that you can come through it. And I think that's really, really important. Everybody should fail at some point in their life.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like how in life, in a sense, we do mistakes, but at the end, we still have to like learn from it to actually gain
Yeah.
something out of it.
And
Wow.
it makes the successes all the more sweeter, knowing that you came from a place that was bad, but you somehow managed to pull yourself out of it and get to somewhere better in the end. So that's really good.
I heard you mentioned that your dad had a business before. So did it in a
Yes.
sense inspired you to start your own business? Like you can actually you felt inspired that you actually can run your own business?
No, not really. Actually, my ambition was always to be an executive chef of some big hotel chain, or to be the head chef of some famous restaurant anywhere. Um, it was I never really thought about running my own business in the beginning. Um, but although my dad running his own business wasn't exactly an inspiration for me to start my own, but it was very assuring to know that somebody that close to me, um, even in retirement, when he retired from the army, only then did he start his own business, very late in life. That was very reassuring, and it gave me the confidence that even though I started Miss Ellie in my 30s, so not exactly very young, it gave me confidence to know that hey, I can still do this.
Mm. I also have a question about like I'm sure in the food and beverage industry, it's hard to balance between like I want to give good quality food, but also I have to struggle with like pricing. Could you share like a little bit about how you balance that?
Okay. One very simple thing: don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. It depends on what you want to do with your business. Some people want to go into business purely just to make money, and you may or may not succeed. But I think it's got to be more than that. We're in a world, we're in a time where you have to think more than just getting by and surviving. You want to make a difference. You want to leave the planet a better place than when you came into it. So whatever you do, even your own business, you've got to have a higher purpose. When it comes to costing for that, my philosophy is everybody's got to eat, and at the same time, I want to do the best that I can, because when you push yourself to be excellent, people realize that eventually, and it's one of the key things that will help you really succeed at something. So stay excellent in everything that you do, big and small, and it will show. So when we cost items here, we don't put a very high margin on things. We want to keep everything reasonable and fair, without compromising on quality and experience. It means working very hard, but what's wrong with working hard? Working hard actually brings a lot of benefits as well to you. It keeps you active, it keeps you going, it keeps you strong. If everything in life was too easy, you start to take things for granted. So we cost things that way without we make sure that the margin is there, of course, to cover the business costs and to of course make some money. But at the same time, we have to make sure that it's at a price level that people can come back to. So if it's something where you can only spend on once a year, it's too high. We want a place that people can come to, and the bill won't hurt your pocket at the end of the meal.
Interesting. Yeah, excellence is definitely a key value for any business owners out there. And
Yeah.
it's a good point that you mentioned, like how although you want to be a reasonable price as well, there is still a need for like a price margin where the business can sustain itself and
Yeah.
so on. Yeah. I wonder,
Well, for me,
yeah, sorry?
Sorry, from a business point of view, it does depend on what you want to do and what you want to achieve. So our restaurant is something that we are building with a long-term view. So as such, if it's going to be a long-term view, then it's really more about longevity than tons of money right now. So it really depends on what your goals are and what your business model is as well. If you want to get technical about it, I think.
Yeah, it's good to identify that early on in the business, especially.
Yeah.
Could you share like how was it like during the MCO? I'm sure because a lot of stores out there rely heavily on like people coming in physically. Could you share like how did your business? How was it like?
Well, it was very uncertain. It still is. The moratorium is still on and it only ends in October. So the pandemic isn't over, and the MCO was only just part of the situation. So those 3 months, it was very scary because it was almost as if the economy came to a standstill, and people weren't really. Everything was new to everyone. So as far as food and beverage was going, in the first couple of weeks, there was orders would just kept pouring in because people couldn't go out to get food, but they still needed to eat. And then as people started to get used to the situation where they had to learn to cook at home, more and more people started doing that, and orders started going down. And of course, as the MCO prolonged, other places started to reopen as the restrictions eased. We decided to stay closed for various reasons. We wanted to protect our staff as well, because our staff are people we have to take care of them as much as we take care of our customers as well. So we remained closed during the RMCO and the CMCO until the end of June. But as people started to reopen, orders also continued to drop, because people started to have options again. So for us, it was a pretty scary time.
How did you adapt to it, or in the way try to form up a new strategy?
Well, we created our boundaries first. So the main boundary was we were not going to reopen until we felt it was all right to do so, until it was safe. So working within that parameter, we knew that the only choice we had left was to do deliveries. So for us, it was something new. We'd never done deliveries before the MCO, so we had to get the word out. So social media became very important, and partnering with a reliable delivery partner was also very essential for us.
So currently, before the MCO, you did not use delivery services, is it? Because beforehand, people just take away.
Yes, before that it was just dine-in or takeaway.
So now it's slowly transitioning to more delivery than actual dine-in?
Yes, so it was matter of necessity that we shifted over to deliveries, and it is something we are going to maintain.
So even now, were you facing any challenges with the new delivery partners, or in the case
yes,
of
it was
SOP?
as with every new thing that you take on, first of all, you have to learn a system and you have to create a system to fit in with your current operations. So during the MCO, it was quite straightforward. Delivery was the only thing we were doing. But we had to start planning ahead already for when we reopen. If we were going to keep the delivery service available to our customers, we had to plan how to integrate that into the way we operated before MCO. So there was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of deliberations between the management and the staff as well, how we were going to go through as a team.
I see. So what did you discuss about, like any key learnings that you learned during the whole time trying to adapt to the situation?
Yeah, it's very it's something I think would be very customized to individual businesses, because it really depends on your SOP, each business's individual SOPs and way of doing things. So for us, it was about the main thing that you would probably be consistent is you need to have good communication within your own team to come up with effective strategies and ways to overcome and build things into your business so that you can grow it. For us specifically, it was how are we going to manage a new aspect of service deliveries without increasing the workforce. So we started coming up with changes to our workflow and the delegation of jobs and things like that. So it really depends on the individual business, I feel.
Okay, I think I have one more question, which is, do you think young people should start their own business? I mentioned that you started one in Australia. Like even though a business might not like do well, it might fail. Do you have any do you think young people should still start a business, and why? Or why not?
Depends. It depends on what you want. It all starts from what you want to achieve with your own life because starting a business is a decision. Before you make a decision, you're doing yourself a favor by planning ahead and thinking about what you really want, and then make the decisions to pursue what you want. When I started a business in Australia, I had a very good and stable job with the hotels. I was very happy with my job as an employee there. But when my friends approached me with the idea of starting a cafe, I got excited. I said, okay, I didn't have commitments at that time. So making the choice was easy. Keep money for myself, or do I put it into business? Also with no experience running a business. But I was very gung-ho lah, because young ma, everything also can. So I decided, yep, okay, I'll join, and then we'll run the business. I didn't really have a plan of what I wanted for the business. For me, it was basic. In fact, I think a little bit too basic. I was just thinking that the business would be a supplement to my day job. And that was it. I didn't really plan very much further than that. I think young kids nowadays are smarter than me when I was that age. Think a little bit further before you decide you want to start a business. I was just talking to another young man today, and we were saying your goals might be a family, a house, whatever you will, 2 million or 4 million in the bank, I don't know, whatever. But how you're going to achieve that, it is up to you. But you got to know yourself. You know what you're good at. If you're good at managing things, your time, you're good at multitasking, maybe you do have good skills naturally to organize things, to run stuff. Maybe you're an artistic person and you're really good at focusing on the one job and just creating fantastic, mind-blowing creations. Well, that's your strength. I think the most important thing is to capitalize on your strength first, and then from there, decide how you're going to achieve a goal based on what you're good at. A lot of people say you got to do what you love, but I think you should do what you're good at. Because when you're successful, you're going to love being successful. And what you love doing, you can do as a hobby always. You won't stop loving what you love. In fact, you may change and over time. So if you're thinking of starting a business, have a plan. Building something takes time. If you're going to build a career working for someone, you got to give yourself time to climb up the ladder. If you're thinking of building a successful business, you got to give yourself time to build your brand, to build your company into what you want it to be. The success stories are always exciting. Steve Jobs, T Live, and all these big companies that seem to have made it overnight. The truth is, a lot of them didn't make it overnight, and it's always going to take time. So patience is indeed a virtue.
Mm. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think what I learned from your sessions today is like really taking in account of what you put in, but also not always being so, you say, jaded eyes of, oh, I only want to do what I love, you know, but also
Yes.
being a bit looking at the logistical kind of like eye that, oh, we actually can look at what we are good at first and then slowly make a plan, and in a sense, need hard work, well, a lot of hard work to start.
Mm.
Okay, I think we'll move on to the Q&A session. I saw there was a
Sure.
nice comment for you, Justin. So Daniel mentioned that he said, I was one of your workers that have worked in Miss Ellie Tea House before, and I'm Indonesian, but Justin is very kind to me and other workers. My question is, how can you be so sure to start Miss Ellie Tea House, and how did you convince yourself?
You're never going to be. Oh wait, who is this?
This is by Daniel Jr. He said now he's in Indonesia, but he's still you are still his
Oh,
role
yeah,
model.
Daniel. Hey, bro, how are you? Miss you a lot.
Hi, Justin.
Oh, I can hear you. Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I think his
Thanks for
question
having
is,
me.
how can you be so sure to start? Like I'm sure it's a difficult like stage where
Right.
you should I really go for this business, even though I think the business idea is good, but I'm still not sure. Like, how did you convince yourself to really start it?
Well, nothing in life is certain, and you you're rarely going to be 100% sure about something if you think about it. Um, if you're reckless, you'll be 100% sure about anything. But I don't think everybody's like that, and it's probably not a good idea. I wasn't really sure. Um, Personally, for me, it wasn't much of a choice. Um, I was, so to speak, as far as food and beverage was concerned, I was jobless at the time. I was helping my brother with his tourism business. And for me, the motivation to just go ahead with it was my mom needed to do something to fill her time. And I needed to make a proper living again. So, in a way, my path was set for me. But for those of you who have options, some of you have come from families who own businesses, and you have a choice to take over the family business, which is a great advantage, a great bonus, because you're going to step into something that was already built up. But it may not be what you want to do. Fair enough. Other people have a choice to either apply for a job somewhere or to go their own way and start something. Nothing is going to be right or wrong. Again, it will boil down to your own goals and how you want to achieve it. But once you commit, in general, don't give up. If you persevere, most of the time you will make it through. But you gotta be patient.
Hey, thank you for answering that question. I have another question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm sure managing and recruiting is like a whole ball game altogether compared to like actually just, as a chef. Could you share like what any tips you have for like leading a team or like managing a team in a sense?
Oh yeah, okay. Uh, Old wisdom is still applicable. Lead by example. If you want your staff to work hard, you have to work hard yourself. Don't be the boss who goes home on time and expects everyone to stay back till late at night. So yeah, that's very important. Lead by example. Do what you say, and mean what you say, because you want to hire people who are reliable, but don't forget, people are looking to work for someone who they can rely on as well. So you've got to be a trustworthy person as a boss,
Yeah.
And yeah, so when you have the right character and the mindset, the right people will follow you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, indeed, like in a team, managing a team is so difficult, but at the end, really, that mindset really helps us.
Yeah, and it's a learning process as well, continually. Like I still realize I do a lot of things wrong myself, but we have a very good communication channel here, which I'm very grateful for, and we're honest with one another. So there's a lot of transparency, and I learn a lot from my employees as well.
Your previous experiences.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Justin, for sharing your insights and your stories.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think just to summarize for everyone, I think what really motivated him was keeping in mind the important value that you would like to have in your business. For example, like he mentioned, patience, being able to be trustworthy and being honest with your team, which is very important if anytime any of you want to be a manager or even your own boss someday. And I think some things also like excellence, setting your own boundaries and knowing that there's some things that you need to set before you even start the business, and which is very inspiring for me as well. I hope everyone else feel inspired and motivated from hearing his story, and that if you want to achieve your goals one day, you can with keeping in mind this kind of values. So thank you so much, Justin, for sharing that. Yeah. So if anyone out there have a goal to start a business, or maybe you want to learn any entrepreneurial skills or values like what Justin had mentioned, you can start a business or maybe learn more through RYSE Online. We have online course which is called RYSE Online, where we are giving out 10,000 ringgit seed funding for any Malaysians who are 18 to 25. But if you're not in that age range, you can still join the session and also just learn a thing or two through very meaningful videos and also some assignments that we have in the course itself. It's completely free. You can join anytime from now until October. As long as you have Wi-Fi, you can just join the course. So the link would be bit.ly/RYSE Online, and you can find out more by just filling this in your URL. And for our next Tauke Talks, we have Tauke Talks with Atia from Jarum, who started her own clothing brand in Malaysia. So if you're interested to know more about that, you can sign up by looking at our RYSE on RYSE programs, social media, Instagram, or Facebook. You just have to type in Elias RYSE program, then you can find the invitation link for this Tauke Talks and any other future programs that we have. So thank you so much, Justin, for your time. Very glad to have you here. Thank you, everyone.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.